Jack had lived alone on Outpost Delta 9 for almost 2 years. The outpost was far away from the main space routes, lost in the quiet corner of the galaxy. It was small, just a few metal rooms, an old landing pad, and a tall antenna that barely worked. Jack was a human engineer, sent here to monitor the old power generators and keep the machines running. He liked the silence. No orders, no noise. Just stars. But today, something changed. It started with a sound low and deep like thunder in space. Jack looked up. The sky above the outpost turned red for a moment. Then, out of the clouds, came a ship. Not just any ship. This one was massive, black and gold, shaped like a blade. It moved slowly, like it was watching everything. Jack stepped back and stared, heart beating fast. The ship landed with a sharp hiss. Steam burst from its sides. A long ramp slid down to the ground. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then he saw him, a tall figure walking down the ramp. He was wrapped in a dark robe with golden patterns. His face was partly covered by a strange metal mask. His eyes glowed red. An alien, not just any alien. This one had power. Jack didn't move. He didn't know if he should speak, run, or raise his tool blaster. But something about the figure told him, don't try anything stupid. The alien finally stopped in front of him. You are human, Jack? The voice was deep and calm, but filled with weight. Yes, Jack said, his voice dry. That's me. What's going on? The alien didn't answer right away. He pulled something from behind him, a silver box, long and smooth, glowing faintly from its edges. He placed it on the ground. I am Baron Kareth of Zendos. You saved my son 2 moons ago. Jack blinked. Then he remembered. A few weeks ago, he found a small shuttle crashed near the canyon. Inside was a wounded alien boy. Jack had pulled him out, fixed his oxygen pack, and called for medical help. He didn't even get a thank you back then. I didn't do much. Jack said, just did what anyone would. Most would not, Baron Kareth replied. You did, and for that, you are owed. Jack looked at the box. Something inside was breathing. What is this? Jack asked, a little nervous. The Baron pressed a hidden button. With a soft click, the box opened. Inside was a girl. An alien girl. Maybe no more than 16 in human years. She had pale blue skin, glowing marks on her arms, and long white hair that flowed like mist. She wore a soft silk robe and a silver collar on her neck. She sat still, eyes low, not moving. Jack stepped back. What is this? You brought me a person? She is not just a person, the Baron said calmly. She is a creation of our empire. A rare breed, intelligent, loyal. She has been trained to serve. She is now yours. Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing. You're giving me a slave? The Baron tilted his head. You call it that. We call it honor. She's yours to keep. Or to free. That is your choice now. Jack looked at the girl. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just sat there, quiet, like a bird trapped in a cage. This isn't right. Jack said, I didn't save your son for a reward like this. Still, the Baron replied, turning to leave, you have received it. Without another word, he walked back to his ship. The ramp closed. The engines roared. The massive ship rose and disappeared into the sky, and Jack was left alone. With the box, and the girl. She slowly lifted her head and looked at him. Her eyes were strange, glowing, bright blue, but empty. No fear, no anger, just silence. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't know what had just started, but he knew this was no normal gift. Something was very, very wrong. Jack didn't sleep that night. The silver box still sat in the middle of his outpost floor, open and quiet. The alien girl had stepped out only once to sit by the window and stare at the stars. She didn't speak. She didn't eat. She barely blinked. It was like she wasn't real, like a living statue left behind by the stars. Jack made her some food, the same nutrient packs he used, but she didn't touch them. He even placed a blanket near her, but she didn't move. She just sat there, like a shadow that had taken form. Her white hair shimmered in the dim blue light of the outpost's hallway. In the quiet of the night, Jack studied her from afar. He noticed small things, tiny scars around her wrists, barely visible burns on her neck, and the silver collar that wrapped tightly around it. The collar blinked with soft red lights, like it was still active, still watching her. She didn't try to run. She didn't cry. But her eyes weren't empty anymore. They were thinking. Jack could feel it, like being watched by a creature. Far smarter than it appeared. Something was locked inside her. Something dangerous. But she wasn't showing it. Not yet. The next morning, Jack tried again. "Hey," he said softly. "You understand me?" No answer. "My name's Jack. I'm not going to hurt you. You don't have to stay silent." The girl blinked once, then slowly turned her head. Her voice was soft, like wind over glass. "Do you have a name for me?" Jack frowned. "What?" "They give names to the ones they own," she said quietly. "What will you call me?" Jack felt sick in his stomach. "I'm not going to own you," he said. "That's not how this works." She tilted her head, confused. "Then why am I here?" Jack didn't know how to answer that. He sat on the floor across from her. "I didn't ask for you," he admitted. "But I also can't just send you back. Do you want to go back?" Her lips pressed into a tight line. "If I go back, they will erase me." Erase, not punish. Not jail. Erase. Jack felt a cold chill crawl up his neck. "You're not a thing," he said firmly. "You're not something that can just be erased." She said nothing, but her eyes flicked toward the collar around her neck. Jack noticed a tiny mark on the side of the collar, writing in a language he didn't know. But he could see a symbol, a triangle inside a circle. The same symbol was used by the Zendos Empire for one purpose: military assets. That's when it hit him. She wasn't a servant. She was a weapon. Later that day, Jack searched the silver box again. He opened a side panel and found something unexpected: a data chip hidden in a secret slot. He plugged it into his terminal. The screen flickered, then showed a simple message written in galactic trade language. Unit 9X subject, Sci, mind resistance detected. Reprogram failed. Use or discard. Final test in progress. Jack stared at the words, heart pounding. Final test. He looked over at the girl Sci, who was still sitting quietly, but her fingers were now curled into fists. She had read the screen. "2. They're watching," she whispered. "Even now." Jack quickly shut the terminal. "What do you mean watching?" She didn't answer right away. Then she pointed at the ceiling. "The drones. You just can't see them." Jack didn't want to believe it, but she was right. Hidden surveillance bots, tiny, invisible ones, were used by the Zendos Empire to observe things without being seen. And if Sci was a final test, then he was part of it. Why would they do this? Jack asked. She stood slowly, for the first time moving like a person, not a doll. "Because I was not supposed to think for myself. And you're the last variable." Jack's throat went dry. "What does that mean?" She looked him straight in the eyes. "If I hurt you, I fail. If I protect you, I break their code." Jack took a step back. Sci took one forward. "But I haven't decided yet." And with that, she walked into the hallway. Her silver collar blinking red like a countdown no one could see had already begun. Jack sealed the outpost doors that night, not for the cold or for the wind, but because of the silence. Not normal silence. Watching silence. He could feel it. Ever since Sci had said, "They're watching," his nerves were on edge. The idea of hidden drones floating around him, recording every move, listening to every word, that made the metal walls feel like paper. But Sarai? She didn't seem afraid. She moved like someone who had stopped fearing a long time ago. She never raised her voice. Never demanded. Never panicked. She just existed in a strange calm, like a quiet storm that hadn't chosen where to strike yet. Jack had made her a bed in the storage room. She never touched it. Instead, she sat in the corner on the cold floor, her arms wrapped around her knees, her glowing blue eyes fixed on nothing. She hadn't spoken since yesterday. Not a word, not a sound. Jack tried again the next morning. "I made tea," he said, placing the small steaming cup on the table near her. No response. He sighed, sitting down across from her. "You know, you don't have to stay quiet. I'm not going to report you or send you back. I want to help." She finally looked up. Her voice, when it came, was soft and heavy. "You think I'm quiet because I'm scared?" Jack blinked. "Aren't you?" She stood up slowly. "I'm quiet because I'm listening." "To what?" "To them," Jack frowned. "The Empire?" Sarai walked to the window. "They're trying to send commands through the collar. Commands I'm supposed to follow without question." Jack's eyes dropped to the blinking red collar on her neck. "And are you following them?" She turned and smiled. Not a kind smile, a clever one. "Not anymore." Later that day, Jack ran a private scan through one of his old military devices, an illegal one, but useful. It showed energy pulses, tiny, sharp signals entering the outpost from space, bouncing through the collar. Just like Sarai had said, she was under control, or at least someone thought she was. Jack stared at the screen, heart racing. "They're still trying to control you." Sarai looked calm. "Yes, but the commands are weaker now, fuzzier. They're testing how long I can last before I break." Jack swallowed. "Why tell me all this?" "Because," she said slowly, "you're the only variable they didn't account for. A human, with no rank, no orders, no fear." He raised a brow. "You think I'm not afraid?" She walked up to him. "Close, too close. You're afraid," she whispered. "But you're still here." That made her dangerous. Not because she had powers, but because she had choices now. That night, something strange happened. Jack woke to the sound of soft humming. He stepped out of his bunk and followed the sound. It was coming from the control room. When he peeked in, he froze. Sarai stood in front of the comm screen, her collar glowing bright blue now. Her hands moved in patterns, fingers dancing through invisible controls. She was speaking, but not in words. In data.code.alien code. She was talking to the collar. "Sarai?" Jack called out. She didn't stop. Her eyes were glowing now. Not like before. Brighter, stronger. Then suddenly, the collar sparked just for a second and turned dark. No lights, no sound. Dead.Serai dropped to her knees. Jack rushed to her side. "What did you do?" "I shut it off," she whispered. "But not for long. They'll know. They'll come." Jack felt panic rise in his throat. "What do they want from you?" She looked at him, her voice shaking for the first time. "They want me to kill you." Jack's heart skipped a beat. "But I won't," she added quickly, "because I'm not their weapon anymore." Jack stared at her. For the first time since she arrived, she looked human. Not in skin, not in shape, but in pain. She wasn't just silent anymore. She was resisting. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. Asterisk. Jack had seen strange things across the galaxy, mutant beasts, rogue AI, even planets with living skies. But nothing prepared him for what Sarai told him next. It was the middle of the night. A cold wind howled outside the outpost, but inside, Jack sat across from Sarai at the old metal table. The power flickered. The outpost lights dimmed. Sarai's collar, dead for now, sat silently on the floor like a snake waiting to strike. "Again, you asked what I am," Sarai said quietly, tracing her finger in slow circles on the table surface. "Not who I am, but what?" Jack leaned forward, nodding. "Yeah, I think I deserve the truth now. She looked up, her glowing blue eyes now dim, almost tired. My species doesn't have a name, she said. We were made in tanks. Born. Too Bay. Built by the Zendos Empire after they lost their elite soldiers in the War of Five Suns. Clones? Jack S. shook her head. Not clones. Constructs. They built our minds from silence. Mixed human DNA with alien code. We're not born, we're activated. Jack blinked. Wait, human DNA? From Earth? Yes, she replied. Your kind's resistance to neural control. Your unpredictable choices, those traits were desired. But not everyone was successful. Most of us broke. Some went insane. Others just stopped. Jack frowned. Stopped? Our bodies lived, but our minds shut down. They called us the inactive, a whole generation of us, thousands, just lying in silent chambers. Sarai's voice grew cold. I was the first to wake up alone. Jack rubbed his hands together, processing what he had heard. So they made you a hybrid? She nodded. A test. The first to resist full obedience. They couldn't shut me down, so they caged me. Then they decided to offer me as a gift, but not just to reward you. Jack stiffened. It was to see if I'd activate, she finished. Activate how? Jack asked, though he already had a dark idea. Sarai's face hardened. By killing you. Jack went quiet. The room felt smaller now. They designed me to bond, she continued. To feel. But only enough to be used. They wanted to see if emotions could be controlled, directed like a weapon. And what if they can't? Jack asked. Sarai looked at him with a sharp, almost burning expression. That I become something they fear. Suddenly, the lights went out. The outpost went completely dark. No hum, no flicker, no warning. Jack jumped up. That's not a power failure. Sarai didn't move. She just said one word. They're here. Jack rushed to the emergency panel and pulled the manual power switch. Nothing happened. Backup systems were dead too. He grabbed his tool blaster and turned to Sarai. How many? She stood calmly. Not many. They think I'm still weak. Outside, footsteps echoed in the snow. Slow, measured, metal boots crunching ice. Then came the hiss of airlocks. The outer gate was opening. Jack moved to the security monitor, only static. Can you fight? He asked, not sure if he wanted to hear the answer. Sarai gave him a strange smile, not like they expect. The first soldier came in with a scanner. He was Enthosian tall, armored in obsidian black, with long glowing wires running through. His helmet, he didn't see Sarai. She moved too fast. One blink he was down, not dead. Just frozen. Jack saw it. Her hand had touched his armor for just a second, and the man collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. You didn't kill him, Jack whispered. I don't need to, she replied. I just stopped the control inside him. More soldiers came through the hallway. They fired plasma shots, screaming across the corridor. Sarai didn't flinch. She raised her hand, and the shots stopped midair, floating like frozen stars. She flicked her wrist. The shots reversed, slammed back into the guns that fired them. Weapons exploded in the soldiers' hands. Not blood. Not screams. Just silence. Powerful silence. After it was over, Jack stared at Sarai in awe. You said you were a weapon, he said slowly. I was, she answered. Not anymore. She looked at him firm, steady. I'm choosing what to be now, and I choose to be free. Jack felt something shift inside him. Not fear. Respect. She wasn't a gift, or a weapon, or a prisoner. She was a beginning, and the galaxy wouldn't be ready for her. Jack barely slept after the attack, not because of the fear, but because of what Sarai had done. She hadn't just offended herself. She hadn't just disarmed trained soldiers with a glance. She had turned their own weapons and minds against them without killing. That kind of control wasn't just powerful. It was unnatural, and she did it calmly. No shaking. No rage. Just choice. The bodies of the soldiers still lay in the hallway. Frozen. Not breathing. Not dead, but not alive either. Some kind of neural stasis, Sci had called it. They'll wake up, she said. But they won't remember this. Jack buried the weapons and locked the coms. He wanted no more surprises, but then he noticed something strange. A small flicker on the old outpost's wall console, one he hadn't used in months. The screen flashed with a symbol, a circle split in half, with 3 dots underneath. Not a signal, a mark. Sarah's expression changed the moment she saw it. Her skin shimmered faintly. "Where did that come from?" she asked, voice low. "I don't know," Jack replied. "That's the maintenance console. It's not even connected to the grid." Sci walked over and touched the screen. It flickered, then changed. A hidden message played. Not video. Not voice. Just text. "If you're reading this, it means she resisted. The Empire lied. She is not the last. She is the key to finding the others. Protect her. They are watching everything, even your thoughts. Trust no one, not even her, until you find the cave." The message ended with one word. Run. Jack stared at the screen, stunned. "What does that mean? Others? You said you were the only one." Sci looked pale. "I was told that all my life. I thought I was the last surviving unit from the batch that resisted." Jack stepped closer. "But if there are others, then this whole thing, this gift, it's a trap within a trap." She nodded slowly. "Yes, they're using me as bait." Jack's mind raced. "Then we're not just in danger, we're being hunted." The temperature in the outpost dropped sharply. Jack checked the systems. Nothing wrong, but the heat was vanishing. He looked at Sci. "Is this you?" She shook her head. "No, but someone else is here." Suddenly, the lights turned blue. That's when Jack saw it. A shape in the corner of the room, blurry, almost like a shadow from another world. It wasn't visible a moment ago. But now, it pulsed. A drone. But not mechanical. Organic. Its eyes glowed purple. It watched without moving. Sci didn't speak. She walked straight to it, raised her palm, and sent a short burst of glowing energy toward it. The drone exploded silently into dust. Jack coughed, waving the air. What was that? Sci's expression was cold. A watcher from the Council of Silence. If they've sent one, it means they know the message was received. Jack stared at her. "Who are the Council of Silence?" "They are the real masters of the Empire," she said. "The ones who made me, the ones who erased the others. If they know we're alive, they will burn this outpost to the ground." Jack opened his old locker and pulled out a dusty black box. He pressed his thumb to the lock. Click. Inside was a folded star map, hand-drawn, marked in red ink, a map to places erased from official records. "My brother and I built this," Jack muttered, "back before he went missing." He marked caves where strange signals were picked up. Signals no one could trace. Sci leaned over his shoulder, scanning the map. Then she pointed to a dark corner in the Ven sector. "There, that's where the caves begin. You're sure?" Jack asked. Her voice trembled. "I don't know why, but something inside me knows, like a memory that isn't mine." Jack folded the map. "Then we run." She stared at him. "You'd really do that? Leave everything behind for a maybe?" Jack gave a small smile. "No, I'm doing it for you. Because maybe you're not a weapon anymore." She looked at him, quietly, then whispered, "Maybe I never was." Outside, in the frozen night, engines warmed beneath the outpost's launch bay. Jack loaded supplies. Sci stepped into the co-pilot's seat. The message was clear now. She was not alone, and someone wanted her dead, before she found out who else had survived. But they'd made one mistake. They gave her to a human. Asterisk, the ship roared to life. It wasn't built for speed. It wasn't built for war, but it was all Jack had, a beat-up old shuttle from Earth's early space age, barely held together with spare parts and hope. Sarai sat in the co-pilot's seat, her eyes focused, her hands resting gently on the controls. Outside, snow and ash fell like silent warnings. The sky above the outpost was no longer empty. 3 ships hovered in the clouds, black and angular, like fangs waiting to bite. "They're here," Jack said. 3 cruisers, Zendos class. Sarai didn't move. "They won't let us leave." Jack adjusted the thrusters. "Then we force our way out." But just as he pulled the lever, everything shut down. Power gone, engines dead. The ship lights turned red, and a cold, robotic voice filled the cockpit. "Engines disabled by order of the Empire. Surrender the asset." Sarai stood slowly. "They've locked us in a cage again." Jack gritted his teeth. "Then we break the bars." He ran to the back of the ship where his emergency core was kept, an illegal energy spike he never thought he'd use. He tore off the cover and shoved the plug into the control panel. Nothing. Then dash boom. The ship shook violently. A second voice echoed from outside. "You have 10 seconds to comply, or we open fire." Jack turned to Sarai. "You have powers. Can't you stop them?" Sarai looked down at her hands. They shimmered faintly, but weaker than before. "They're jamming me," she said. "They're using something. Something new. My connection is fading." "Then we're dead," Jack said, backing into the pilot's seat. "No," Sarai whispered. "Not yet." Suddenly, she walked to the ship's center. There, in a small compartment, sat the broken collar, the same one she had disabled. Jack watched in horror as she picked it up. "What are you doing?" "I'm making a choice," she said. "They designed this collar to control me, but what if I use it to connect myself to them instead? That's suicide." She gave a small smile. "Or rebellion." She placed the collar back around her neck. It clicked shut. Her body convulsed, just for a second. Then her eyes exploded with light. Not blue. White. Blinding. Outside, the Empire ships turned their weapons toward the outpost. Missile bays opened. Target locks activated. But then static. Screeching, breaking, chaotic static. Inside every ship, the systems began to fail. Screens cracked. Commands reversed. Engines misfired. Drones turned against their owners. Jack watched it all through the viewport. "What's happening?" Sarai's voice came from everywhere, now not just her mouth. It echoed through the ship, through the walls, through the Empire's own comms. "You used me to learn control, but I learned something else." Her body lifted into the air, her veins glowing like circuits. "I learned freedom." With a sudden flash, Sarai let out a scream, not of pain, but of release. In space, the 3 Empire cruisers exploded, not with fire, but with silence, like they had been erased. Jack shielded his eyes as the blast passed over them, then all went still. Sarai dropped to her knees. The collar shattered. She was breathing hard, her skin dim, her body shaking. Jack ran to her side. "Sarai, are you—" She opened her eyes. "I fought back," she whispered. "Not just for me, for them, the ones who never got the chance." Jack pulled her into his arms. "You had a choice," he said softly. "And you chose to protect." Sarai nodded slowly. "They will send more." This was only the first wave. Jack helped her to her feet. "Then we find the cave. Find the others," she smiled faintly. "I'm ready now." Outside, the sky was clearing. Stars shined through again, but neither of them looked back. They had somewhere to be, and someone, maybe many, waiting to be saved. The stars were clearer now. The Empire's ships were gone. The sky was free, but the war was not over. Jack's ship limped through space, heading toward the last red mark on his brother's old star map, a forgotten system deep in the shadows of the Ven sector. Sarai lay resting in the ship's medbay, pale but breathing. Her body had burned through energy faster than it could recover. She'd connected directly to the Empire's command grid and overwritten it from the inside. That power came at a cost. Jack sat beside her, gently fixing the cracked metal around her seat. He hadn't said much since the escape. Not because he didn't want to, but because he didn't know how. How do you thank someone who saved your life? By nearly ending theirs? After hours of silence, Sarai stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. Still glowing, still beautiful. But now filled with something new. Peace. You're awake, Jack said softly. She nodded. Barely. You shouldn't have used the collar again. You could have died? She interrupted, voice dry. Yes, but for the first time, I chose that risk. Jack looked away. They're not done. You said so yourself. More will come. Yes, Sarai replied. But we're not running anymore. She stood, slowly but stronger now, and walked to the ship's control deck. The system beeped softly. The ship was close to orbit. Below them was a planet made of green clouds and dark stone. Hidden inside a valley shaped like a scar was the location marked on Jack's map. Sarai pressed her palm to the glass and whispered, "Home." They landed near a massive cave, its entrance, covered in vines that shimmered when touched by light. As they stepped inside, Jack felt something strange in the air, a hum, like quiet music from the rocks. They moved deeper. Then, in the heart of the cave, they found them. Not bodies. Not machines. Pods. Dozens of them, glowing, breathing, alive, inside. Each pod was someone like Sarai young, sleeping, glowing with soft blue light. Jack stepped forward in awe. They're still alive. Sarai moved between the pods, her hands trembling. This was the original generation, she said. The Empire said they were destroyed. But they were hidden, frozen, waiting. Jack noticed something else. Carved into the cave wall in old Earth-style English letters. They are not weapons, they are children. And below that, Dr. I. Reyes, lead scientist, Human Genetics Division. Jack's breath caught. My brother. His full name was Isaac Reyes. Sarai's eyes widened. Your brother helped build us. Jack fell silent. Now it made sense. The map, the hidden marks, the warning messages. His brother hadn't gone missing. He had vanished himself to protect these children from the Empire. And now, they were all Jack and Sarai had left to fight for. Suddenly, a pulse rang through the cave, a final signal, one last activation wave. From the Empire, hunting for Sarah's collar, Jack turned to her in panic. They're trying again. But Sarai smiled. They won't find me, she said. She knelt by the central pod and placed her hand on a crystal control node. Light spread through the cave, linking each pod to her touch. I'm not a weapon anymore. I'm a signal, she whispered. I'm going to wake them. Jack knelt beside her. Are you sure you can handle it? Sarai looked at him, and for the first time, there was no fear in her eyes. Only purpose. I was made to serve. I was trained to obey. But now, she looked around at her sleeping kin. I will lead. She placed both hands on the crystal. Cave erupted in light. Each pod began to open slowly, carefully, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Children opened their eyes for the first time. Blue, gold, green, different colors, different minds, but all of them had her spark now. Jack watched them stand, blinking in the cave light. None of them spoke, until one small voice said, Where are we? Sarai stepped forward, glowing like a star, and answered, You're free. Epilogue. Months later, the world knew of the children in the cave. The Empire tried to deny it, then tried to destroy it, but it was too late. Sarai became more than a survivor. She became a symbol, and the human who had once lived alone in a forgotten outpost, he became the first ambassador to a new species. Not built for war, not created for control, but for choice. And the girl once gifted in a box, she had broken her chains and led an army made not of weapons, but of freedom.